All right, let's recap. Let's recap so we know where we are. All right, from the age of 0 to 40, where was Moses? 0 to 40, where was Moses? Egypt. That's a very vague answer. Can you be any less specific? In Pharaoh's household, in the palace. All right, he grows up there. And what happens at the age of 40 that changes all that? He kills somebody just for the fun of it. Can you give me a little more to that storyline besides he killed someone? He killed an Egyptian, which is bad, but he's an Egyptian, right? Why does he kill the Egyptian? Say it again. Because he was being a slave master, being mean. Let's say that. He was being mean, okay? And so he kills him. But he looked both ways, didn't he? He looked this way and that way. Why? Because that's what you do before you do what? Before you kill somebody, you need to look this way and that way to make sure no one sees you. Exactly. Hey, I am here for you. I am here for you. 2 rules. When you're going to kill someone, look this way and that way and never think around Jesus. All right? Stick to those 2 rules, you'll be okay. All right? And does his looking this way and that way, does it work? No, for whatever reason, he didn't look very well. All right? Because, yeah, somebody was there. He didn't look behind him and in front of him. He just looked this way and that way. All right? And so, yeah, this guy comes along. Now, it's interesting in Acts. It says Stephen, right before he gets stoned by the Sanhedrin, decided to give us a Old Testament history lesson. And it says in there that Moses was actually dismayed because the people did not recognize the fact that he was there to deliver them in that moment, which doesn't come across at all in Exodus, but the understanding of the Jewish people in the first century was Moses was there to rescue them, but they rejected him. They didn't understand that he was there to do that. And so he has to come back. Now, how long does he spend in Midian? He goes to Midian. How long is he there? 40 years, okay? Because we pick up and he's going to be 80. Now, what kind of kicks us off? What happens? How do we get back from Midian back into Egypt? What's the initiating moment? The burning bush, okay? And that goes well, right? What? Go back. All right, let's go. No, what does Moses do repeatedly? Excuses, complaints. But God, you don't understand. You don't understand, which I always find funny when I say that. But God, you don't understand why you should do it this way. And God's going, oh, okay. Well, one of these days I'm going to let you have it your way and see how that goes for you. And you go, never mind, God. I'm cool with the way you're doing things. All right? So he takes off. His first meeting is with who? Who's the first meeting? After the burning bush, he meets with who? Aaron, initially, which is an interesting meeting because God goes, hey, go meet your brother Moses, who you haven't seen in 40 years and didn't really know that well anyway, and meet him at the mountain of God. And they meet up somehow going, are you Aaron? Are you Moses? I think you look like Moses. You look like Aaron. Maybe, I don't know. So they have this meeting. He tells them everything. Aaron immediately says, go get the elders. They find the elders. They have the meeting with them. They show them the staff, the snake, the leprosy, and no leprosy, no leprosy. How does that go? Yeah, the elders meeting. All good. They come out. They bow down. They worship. They're excited. Yay, let's do this. They go meet with Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says what? Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And all that straw we've been giving you to make bricks with, yeah, no more straw for you, all right? And they start to beat the foreman, all right, because they're not meeting their quotas. The foreman come back to Pharaoh and go, hey, why are you beating us? You made the rule, and it's all Moses and Aaron's fault. So they go to Moses and Aaron, goes, it's all your fault. And Moses is like, oh, God, what are you doing? And God says what? Oh, sorry about that. Maybe I was wrong. No, what does he say in this moment? Y'all remember? This is so cool. Now he's going to see what I'm going to do to him. It's almost like he has to drain all of the pride, all of the ability, all of the all the wordsmithing that Moses and Aaron might have been able to do, get it down to the bottom where he goes, now the only person who's going to get credit for this is me. Now you're going to see. And they go and tell everybody, and everybody goes, cool, right? No, they did not believe. They did not believe. And God said, oh, well, if they're not going to believe, never mind. No, God goes, I'm not worried about your unbelief. I'm just going to plow ahead because I have a plan. I have a story to tell. In 7, the Lord answers Moses, see, I've made you like God to Pharaoh, and Aaron, your brother, will be your prophet. Don't get weird on that. It's just a dynamics kind of a thing. You must say whatever I command you. Then Aaron, your brother, must declare it to Pharaoh so that he will let the Israelites go from this land. But I'm going to harden his heart. All right? Which, if you're Moses, you're thinking, what? Can you do that? Wait, can we do this again? You want me to say everything I'm supposed to say, but you're going to make sure he doesn't let the people go. So why am I going and telling him, just go? All right? And a phrase you're going to get over and over is, and Moses did exactly what God told him to do. And Moses did exactly what God. In fact, in Exodus 10 times, we get this phrase, and Moses did exactly what God commanded him, or just as God commanded him to do. Very, very cool that you see that 10 times, which is way more than any other book in the Bible. The other phrase we get here is in 5, and I'm going quick over this because we've already been over this. The Egyptians will know that I am Yahweh when I stretch out my hand against Egypt and bring out the Israelites from among them. This phrase, the Egyptians will know it's I'm going to flex, and they're going to understand, oh, that's Yahweh. Ah, that's Yahweh. And we see this 40 years after the Exodus with the prostitute in Jericho who says what? Your God did this, this, and this. Yeah, I know, because now everyone knows what I have done. And you're going to see this phrase 17 times in Exodus. Interesting, you see this phrase 72 times in Ezekiel. In Ezekiel alone, 72 times, it's you will know that I am Yahweh. You will know that I am Yahweh. Out of 121 times, 72 of them are in Ezekiel, 17 are in Exodus, which is an interesting thing because both of them have sort of an exodus, a captivity and an exiting, captivity and exiting, kind of a mirror thing. So just interesting that God's going to make his name known when I stretch out my hand. Okay. Now, this fulfills a prophecy or a sign that God gave, right? We can always go back to Genesis 15, right? We're going to have a 400-year period. You're going to be a sojourner. You're going to be enslaved for a 400-year period. I'm going to mess those people up with my signs and wonders, and you're going to plunder them. I'm going to bring you back here in the 4th generation. Moses is which generation? The 4th generation. All right? Why wait till the 4th generation? Because the full measure of the Amorite sin is not completed, which is what Paul picks up with in Romans with the objects of wrath. Tying all those things together. You got to love that when the Bible does that. So Moses was 80, Aaron was 83, which I've kind of alluded to this in the past. Moses had to be hidden, placed in the reeds, not to be killed. Aaron, no mention of that. So evidently, I would draw the conclusion that there was something in that 3-year gap where the new king who did not know Joseph instituted some type of death penalty for any baby that was born, because Aaron, 3 years older, lives, no problem. Moses is in danger. Okay, that's why I kind of draw back to the 80-year captivity or 80 enslavement. All right, 8. Let's go new stuff. This is the story we all know. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh tells you, perform a miracle or a sign, tell Aaron. Now, be careful with this. Tell Aaron to do something. Aaron, take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh, and it will become a serpent. Now, is that messing up anybody's vacation Bible school lesson? Yeah, because whose staff? It's Moses' staff. Moses threw it down. I know. Trust me, I watched it the other night. I was like, very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Because I was like, I need to watch this to see how much of the Prince of Egypt was actually like, oh, I can't believe he did that. All right? No, we'll see this. And guess how many times? We'll see this 4 times. Aaron, take your staff. Aaron, take your staff. Aaron, take your staff. Okay? So just pay attention to that because it gets a little weird because eventually it's Moses' staff. It's hard to understand. 10. So Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh, did just as the Lord commanded. There's one of our times. Aaron threw down his staff before Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a serpent. But then Pharaoh called the wise men and sorcerers, the magicians of Egypt, and they also did the same thing by their occult practices. Okay, does anybody have a different word there? Do we have a different translation? No? Everybody? The Greek is pharmakia. Guess what word we get from this? Pharmacy, the medicine man, all right? Very interesting in the Hebrew, which is a little bit like the movie. I'll give it to you on this one. The Hebrew word for this is flame or a burst of fire. So if you see in the movie or a magician does what? Poof, all right? And then all of a sudden it's there. I don't know what you want to do with that. I'm just telling you what the word is. They did the same thing by their occult practices. Each one threw down his staff. It became a serpent, but Aaron's staff swallowed their staffs, to which evidently Pharaoh didn't pay attention to that at all, because the next word is what? However, Pharaoh's heart hardened, and he did not listen to them as the Lord had said. Now, when did he say that? In 7 verse 3. All right? Now, how could God possibly know what was going to happen in the future? Because he's God. Was it predestined? Yeah, he does. So, and this is the word we've been talking about on Sunday mornings. This pro-horizo, all right, before the horizon, okay? Just this morning, I got up, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting there, and I start seeing sort of light and orange coming up in the east, and all of a sudden, guess what appeared? Again. That big orange ball came up again. Came up above the horizon. Because where was it? It was just below the horizon. I just couldn't see it. This is that same word. The predestination that we see in the Bible is this word, pro-horizo. It's just simply below the horizon. God knows it's going to happen. Peter, you're going to not deny me 3 times. Guess what happens? The king, the ruler, is going to be born in Bethlehem. Guess what happens? All right? You will be crucified between 2 criminals. Guess what happens? It's not predetermined. It's predestined. It's pre-known, if you want to go that way. So just as, and we get that phrase over and over. But look at the phrase in 13. I want you to see this specifically. However, Pharaoh's heart hardened. Now, who's the actor? No. His heart is the actor, right? You with me? Yeah, I know. I'm parsing words here because I want to be very careful. It doesn't say Pharaoh hardened his heart, and it doesn't say God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So he's not the actor, nor is he the passive. It's just his heart hardened. Now, who was the one doing the acting? We just don't know. It's not clear. It's what we call a middle passive verb, which means it can go one way or the other. All right? It's just not stated. And then he did not listen. Now, this word hardened, in this case, literally means it was strengthened. Now, there's 3 different words that's used for hardened in the Hebrew and the Greek, okay? This word hardened here is the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So essentially it's saying Pharaoh's heart did not allow itself to be prevailed upon, that it withstood all of the evidence of the serpents and all this stuff, all right? So his heart was hardened. It was strengthened. Literally, it's the word iskuo. We get our word strength from this. I can do all things through Christ who iskuo, strengthens me, all right? And the gates of hell shall not prevail or be prevailed upon. So he doesn't listen, as the Lord God said. 14. So now we got our first one. This is not the first sign. This is sort of the pre-sign, all right? And we'll go, again, what happens? I did the sign. You told me to do the sign, and his heart was hardened. But that's exactly what he said. 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hard. he refuses to let the people go. Now, does that say I have hardened Pharaoh's heart? Is there any indication that God has hardened Pharaoh's heart at any moment here in the text so far? But yet in 7, he says, I will harden his heart. All right? And in Romans, we get this idea that I will have mercy on some and I will harden some. So stay with this text. I'm glad it just kind of lined up this way. It's almost like a coincidence. 15, go to Pharaoh in the morning. I like this. I like this because he's going to do this a couple of times. Jeremiah, when we were studying Jeremiah, we got a phrase, time and time again, I've sent my prophets to you. Now, that's our sort of English rendering. The actual Hebrew is, with the rising of the morning. With the rising of the morning, I have come to you. Which in Lamentations, it said how? His mercies are new every morning. Same exact idea. So it's as if he's saying, when I get up in the morning, I'm calling out to you. I'm reaching out to you. You need to be paying attention. That's why I always say you need to get up and renew your mind. Renew your mind, because that's when God traditionally, scripturally speaks. So go in the morning. When you see him walking out to the water, stand ready to meet him by the bank of the Nile. Take in your hand the staff that turned into a snake. Now, whose staff was that? So go take Aaron's staff away from him. All right? Again, we get sort of this moving staff thing. Tell Pharaoh, Yahweh, the God of heaven, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me to tell you, let my people go, so that they may worship me in the wilderness. But so far you have not listened. This is what Yahweh says. Here is how you will know that I am Yahweh. All right? That should be scary. It's not. Watch, or behold, I will strike the water in the Nile with the staff in my hand, and it will turn to blood. The fish in the Nile will die, the river will stink, the Egyptians will be unable to drink water from it. Now, is that painful for them? Could that be a bad thing? Okay, all right. So when he says 400 years earlier, I'm going to mess those people up as part of the signs, this is stage 1, all right? 19, so the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron, take what? Your staff and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt. So is it Moses? Again, I'm just ruining Vacation Bible School for all of us here. Over the rivers, canals, ponds, and their water reservoirs, and they will become blood. There will be blood throughout the land of Egypt, even in wooden and stone containers. So where is there not blood? Literally blood. I mean, Christy, you're around blood a lot. Is that a nice little thing that's easily cleaned up? And yeah, can you imagine blood being everywhere? Not just looks like blood, literally blood, all right? 20, Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord commanded. See that phrase again. In the sight of Pharaoh and his officials, he raised his staff, struck the water in the Nile, and all the water in the Nile was turned to blood. It's, Christy, you'll love this. It's the word metabolic. Metabolo, with, to throw with, or to change, all right? Was changed to blood. The fish that died, the river smelled, they could not drink it. There was blood throughout the land of Egypt. But the magicians of Egypt did the same thing by their occult practices. Now my question is, how would you know? Because if they just turned all the water to blood, what water would they turn to blood? But Moses didn't tell us, so we'll just go with this. A little bit different word in the Hebrew. The Hebrew on this one is more of their secret practices. Rather than the poof on the first one, this is just a secret practice. So Pharaoh's heart hardened, all right? Different word. It's not this strengthened word. It's literally the word to harden, like a sclerosis. Scleroo in the Greek, just to harden, all right? Hardening the arteries, whatever you want to call it. And he would not listen to them as the Lord had said, because the Lord knows what was going to happen, and he already told us in 7:3 what was below the horizon, all right? And Pharaoh turned around, went into his palace, and didn't even take this to heart. What does that mean? So Pharaoh's sitting there. Aaron raises the staff. All the water turns to blood, and Pharaoh goes, and doesn't even take it to heart. Is he above this? Is he in some way not affected by this? That's kind of what the text implies, that he just goes, eh. And what does he do? He hardens his heart. All the Egyptians dug around for looking for water, but they can't find any. And 7 days pass after the Lord struck the Nile. And I always wondered, did it dissipate? Did it just go away one day? There's no recording of it whatsoever. All right? But remember that it didn't seem to bother him. He didn't take it to heart. Maybe it was just the first strike that didn't really get personal enough. We always told our kids, when you're disciplining your kids, you got to find that thing that's painful. Because if you do something that's not painful, they're going to go, I don't care. But you find that one thing that they're like, oh, please don't take that away. And you're like, gotcha. I got you now, because I know where it hurts. Chapter 8. Then the Lord said to Moses, go into Pharaoh and tell him, this is what Yahweh says, let my people go so they may worship me. But if you refuse to let them go, then I will plague all your territory with frogs. Dun, dun, dun. No, like, go. That's it. You're out of here. All right, good. Yeah, no. I still want to sell the house every time I see one of them nasty things plopped on the back window. So, ugh. The Nile will swarm with frogs. They will come up and go into your palace this time, not just be in your river. Into your bedroom and on your bed. No. Into the house of your officials and your people, and into your ovens and your kneading bowls. Can you imagine opening up your cabinet and a bunch of frogs are in there? I'm like driving along at night, and I see one of them hopping across the road. I'm like, one more down. All right. The frogs will come upon you, your people, and your officials. 5, the Lord then said to Moses, tell who? Aaron, stretch out your hand with your staff. See what I'm saying? Over the rivers, canals, and ponds, and cause the frogs to come up onto the land. When Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters, the frogs came up, covered the land of Egypt. 7, but the magicians did the same thing. Again, I don't know how, because they're everywhere, but now they're getting more. I don't know, but it's just one of those things, okay? By their occult practices, again, that secret sorceress type thing, and brought frogs up onto the land of Egypt. Now, here's where it changes a little bit in verse 8. What happens now? Does it say, and Pharaoh didn't take it to mind? Why? He's like me. He don't like frogs, all right? But not only that, but, I mean, the blood was just in the rivers and in the ponds and the canals. Now where are the frogs? Got personal, didn't it? Like you said. Good, Jeff. It got personal. So Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, ask Yahweh to remove the frogs from me. Now, a chapter and a half earlier, he said, I don't know who this Yahweh is. But what does he said twice already? Now he will know the name Yahweh. All right? Remember, 17 times in Exodus, he will know him. All right? So, okay, this Yahweh guy, can you get him to come to get the frogs out of my house? Because this is nasty. Okay? And my people. Then I will let the people go and they can sacrifice to Yahweh. He's making a deal, isn't he? The art of the deal. All right? Come get your God to get the things out, and I'll let you go. We'll make a deal. We'll make this work. Okay? Which I would have made that deal too. All right? And I always say the Hebrews would be worshiping frogs right now. So Moses said to Pharaoh, you make the choice rather than me. When should I ask on your behalf, your officials and your people, that the frogs may be taken away from you and your houses and remain only in the Nile? Good question. I like the way he's playing this. You like this? He says, go ask Yahweh to remove them, and then I'll let them go. And what's his negotiating tactic? Why didn't he just go, okay, I will go ask? Why does he ask him, when do you want me to have them go away? Yeah. What if he says a week from now? All right. What's going to happen a week from now? What if he says today, right now? How does he answer? Tomorrow, he answered. Well played as well. Why? No. Why does he say tomorrow? Because if it's me, what am I saying? Yesterday, exactly, yesterday, all right, 5 minutes ago. Why say tomorrow? He's playing it cool. He's not going, today, right now, you have to do it, because he doesn't want to seem desperate. But at the same time, there's still frogs in my kneading bowls, and I want them out of here. So as soon as possible without me seeming desperate. All right, so it's a play right here. Moses replied, as you have said, so you may, what? Know that there is no one like Yahweh and God. The frogs will go away from you, your house, your officials, and your people. The frogs remain only in the Nile. And after Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, Moses cried out to the Lord for help. Okay, remember when Jesus comes down from the Mount of Transfiguration? The crowd meets him, and there is an issue because there is a demon-possessed boy, and the disciples can't do what? They can't cast him out. And Jesus comes along and says, how long do I have to put up with you guys? And he says, help me. Help my... Jesus says what? If you believe, I'll cast him out. He says, I do believe, but same word right here. This idea of help. It's a cry, boeo. Boeo is the word for help. Moses cried out to the Lord for help concerning the frogs that he had brought against Pharaoh. The Lord did as Moses had said. Now that's a flip, isn't it? What's it said a couple of times? 10 times. He did just as the Lord commanded. In 13, though, it says what? That the Lord did as Moses said. Interesting little flip. The frogs in the houses, the courtyards, and fields died. Good. They piled them into countless heaps. Bad. Because there was a terrible odor, in the land. Can you imagine? I'm telling you, I don't know how they made it past the second plague, all right? When Pharaoh saw there was relief, all right? When his soul was relieved from this, he does what? He hardens his heart. A different word again. So the first one is he strengthened his heart against it. He didn't allow it to prevail. The second one, it was sclerosis. He literally just a hardening of it. This is the word, he weighed it down. He made it to where it was hard to move. You're not moving me, okay? If you grew up and you play tug of war, who's on the back? Who's the chunky kid? Chunky kid's in the back holding on. Why? Weigh it down, all right? This is this idea. He weighed his heart down. You're not moving me, and I'm going to weigh myself down. This is that word, kabod. We get our word honor from it. All right? Honor your father and mother. Give your father and mother great weight in your life. Okay? So this is, again, it's an interesting way they keep rephrasing this. He hardened his heart and would not listen to them as the Lord had said because God knew. All right? 7:3 again. 16, let's go. Third plague. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell who? Aaron, to grab your staff and strike the dust of the earth, and it will become gnats throughout the land of Egypt. You may have a different word. Gnats. This one we're not sure of. It's kind of one of those ancient words that we don't use anymore, and you can call something a fly or a gnat, and it could be 400 different things. We don't have that is a gnat, okay? Some translations have lice. Yeah, that's about as bad. Some of them have this idea of midges, okay? Or sand fleas, if you've ever been to the beach and you've been around that, all right? Grew up with that, okay? But this is the idea that it's something in the soil that kind of, they birth up out of the soil, but they get all over you, all right? Gnats throughout the land of Egypt. And they did this. Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff, and when he struck the dust, gnats were on man and beast. All the dust of the earth became gnats throughout the land of Egypt. Interesting, the word dust here It's what Adam is created from. The dust of the earth. Adam is created from the dust of the earth. Same word. 18. The magicians who've been able to do what? Serpents, blood, frogs. The magicians tried to produce gnats using their occult practices, but they could not. And the gnats remained. That's why we get this idea of lice that they embed on man and beast. 19, the magicians say what? This is the finger of God. Who knows now who's in control? The magicians, okay? And again, what does he say when they've exhausted their sort of arguments? He says what? Now you will see. And now they're saying, oh, this is the orations of Aaron, who's so eloquent that he got, no, this is the finger of God, the magician said to Pharaoh, which he took that really well, right? But look at what it says. But Pharaoh's heart hardened. Again, who's doing it? In 15, it says he hardened his heart. This is Pharaoh's heart hardened. It's again that word skleroo. And he would not listen to them as the Lord had said. Now, what's different about this third plague than the first and the second? The magicians could not do it, right? What else? He did what? Say it again. An end to the gnats? Okay. I mean, there's no conversation at all, is there? They don't go to him. God just goes, all right, we're not even asking this time. Aaron, grab your stick. Whack the dust. And now he just has to live with it. Yeah, go. The only hint we get is in verse 7:25. 7 days passed after the Lord struck the Nile. That's the only one we get that has any definitive timeline to it. So they seem to just expire, or like the frogs, God does something about it. We get the same thing with the flies. We don't know. We don't know. No. We just don't know, and it's hard to nail down. There's some people that want to make the argument that we have the promise, from the promise of the law was 430 years, and so people throw a 30-year thing in there, but when you have Moses being 80 in this moment, and he dies at 120, and they spend 40 years wandering in the wilderness, there's not a lot of wiggle room there. Again, don't try and make the Bible into something it's not, and it's not there to give us timelines. It just gives us sort of numbers every now and then. So no, we don't have any type of understanding as to how long all of this took. So, but obviously it did take a little bit of time. So, okay, good. Fourth plague, 20. The Lord said to Moses, get up early in the morning. Okay, again, I just like that. And present yourself to Pharaoh. When you see him going out to the water, that sounds familiar, right? So what was his practice? What was Pharaoh's practice? Something. He gets in the water, right? He gets in the water. There's some habit he has. Tell him. And it's so cool because God goes, hey, I know what Pharaoh does every morning. I kind of like that. God knows what we do in the morning, all right? God knows how late you sleep. God knows how early you get up, all right? That's right. God knew you would do that. Tell Pharaoh, this is what Yahweh says, let my people go, all right? So third time now. So that they may worship me. But if you will not let my people go, then I will send swarms of flies, not just flies, but swarms of flies against you, your officials, your people, and your houses. The Egyptians' houses will swarm with flies, so will the land where they live. 22, here's interesting, watch this. But on that day, I will give special treatment to the land of Goshen. It's the Greek word, the Greek's a little better, the Hebrew's always hard to understand. The Greek word here is the word paradox. I'm going to create a paradox because I'm going to send flies to the land of Egypt, but these flies won't go in this region where you live. Now, is that how flies act? No, flies just go where flies go, all right? So flies go, oh, we can't go in there. So do you see how this word paradox, the translation is on that day, I will give special treatment. He says, I'm going to present to you a paradox. And what do paradoxes cause us to do? They cause us to think. Good. They cause us to go, wait a second, that ain't right. That's not the way this is supposed to work. Why is this, and this? What's he saying? Because I want them to know who Yahweh is. And they will know, even 40 years later when Rahab talks to him. Into the land of Goshen, where my people are living. No flies will be there. This way you will, what? Know that I, Yahweh, am in the land. I will make a, what? Distinction between my people and your people. This sign will take place tomorrow, all right? Interesting, Paul, we're going to read this week because I was just studying this word and it went, whoa, there's that word again. In Romans 10:12, he says there is no difference between the Jew and the Gentile. That I have no distinction between male and female, slave and free, Jew, Gentile. I won't make a distinction. But in this context, what's he doing? Those are my people, and you're messing with my people. All right? And eventually he's going to come around and say, this is my firstborn, and because you messed with my firstborn, I'm going to do what? I'm going to mess with your firstborn. Which plague is that? The Passover, the last one. Okay? So that setup is coming. So stay with that. This sign will take place tomorrow. And 24, and the Lord did this. Thick swarms of flies went into Pharaoh's palace and into his officials' houses. Throughout Egypt, the land was ruined because of the swarms of flies. Help me with that one. How do you ruin a land with flies? I mean, if I went to the beach and there were flies everywhere, it'd be like, oh, this trip is ruined. But I don't know how you ruin a land with flies. But evidently, it did, because Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron, he did that when else? When was another time? With the frogs, yeah. Y'all come here. And he says to them, go sacrifice to your God with what stipulation? But don't leave. Because Moses, what's he asked for? He says, let my people go so that we can leave you and be gone from you forever. No, let us go, let my people go for 3 days into the wilderness so that they can worship, so they can sacrifice. And he goes, go, sacrifice, but you got to stay in the country. Now, is Pharaoh in a good negotiating position? What cards is he holding on to other than their lives? All right? He's not a lot. But Moses makes a good argument back to him. It would not be right for us to do that because what we will sacrifice to the Lord our God is detestable to the Egyptians. Okay, you're going to have to think on this one. What's he talking about? Because we've gone over this. What's detestable, abhorrent to the Egyptians? No? Okay, when Joseph is talking with his brothers and he wants to get the good land of Goshen, he tells his brothers, tell Pharaoh you are something. Good. Shepherds. Why? Why would they not eat with Joseph's brothers? Because they were what? Shepherds. So what is detestable to the Egyptians? Sheep are. And what would they sacrifice? Okay? You see that how that kind of plays in 200 years later. All right? Just an interesting thing that you can kind of connect the dot in your head. So Moses says, if we sacrifice what the Egyptians detest in front of them, won't they stone us? Now, how would Moses know that? How would Moses know that the sheep are detestable, and if they sacrifice sheep in front of them, that they would probably stone them? Where'd he grow up? All right. Again, it's kind of like Paul. Who would be a good apostle to the Greco-Roman world? Somebody with a deep understanding of Jewish scriptures, that's a Roman citizen but grew up in a Greek city. That may be a good fit. Moses. Who should we go to get the people out of Egypt? Who would be a good fit? God goes, I think that guy's got some qualifications. Right? Which contrasted by, who would be a good person to start the Hebrew race with? Somebody with no kids and way past the childbearing age. So sometimes it's on a tee for you, and sometimes it's what? Wait, all right. See, God can go either way with this. I like it. All right. All right. It's 27. We must go a distance of 3 days into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he instructs us. 28. And Pharaoh responded, I will let you go and sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness, but don't go very far. And make an appeal for me while you're at it. I'll let you go, but you got to make an appeal for me. You have to literally, ukomai, what we've been talking about. Paul says, I pray that you would curse me. All right, this ukomai, the same idea. I wish for this. Make an appeal, intercede for me. As soon as I leave you, Moses said, I will appeal to the Lord, and tomorrow the swarms of flies will depart from Pharaoh, his officials, and his people. But Pharaoh must not act deceptively again by refusing to let the people go and sacrifice to the Lord, or else. Stop, or I'll yell, stop again. All right? What card does Moses have? And what's God going to do? Remember, God's pushing. God's telling a story, and he's pushing and pushing and pushing. And Pharaoh's heart has been hardening, and Pharaoh has been hardening his heart. We've yet to see where it says God hardened Pharaoh's heart. But we've got to get to the 10th plague, right? We've got to get there. We know that. We know that. Moses doesn't know that, because we know that Passover is going to be the completion of the whole story of Jesus. All right? 30. Then Moses left Pharaoh's presence and appealed to the Lord. And guess what? The Lord did as Moses had said. All right? I just love that juxtaposition. He removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, his officials, and his people. Not one was left. How awesome is God? I have swarms of flies, 42 billion flies flying around, and God goes, all right, all of you out of here. 42 billion flies, not one left, all right? Not one of them going, I'm staying, I don't care what you say, all right? They all, if you want to know understand the power of God and the sovereignty of God, just go, you know what? Not one left. God can handle my junk. If God can get 42 billion flies out of a country, that he made sure that they didn't cross a certain line on a map somewhere, God can handle this. God can handle this. 32, but what? Pharaoh hardened his heart. Again, this is that word, wait. He weighted down his heart. So when it says Pharaoh hardened his heart, it's this idea of I'm going to make myself weighty, immovable. It's almost like stubborn. Anybody got stubborn kids? Your kids are stubborn? No? I don't know. Are ours stubborn? Ashley? Are ours stubborn? Yeah. Some of them are. Sometimes. Court's stubborn. Court's very stubborn. Han's just strong-willed. Yeah. Well, I don't know where she gets it from, but yeah, a little bit. So that's where Court gets it and Holland gets it. And Caden's just pretty good-natured. He gets it all from you, right? Yes, in both of these cases, he has done that, and he has come back and hardened his heart in that way, in that waiting, all right? The other time, I was trying to think real quick. So Pharaoh's, look, you can see in 7:22, so Pharaoh's heart hardened is that skleroo, just that generic of, I'm not moving. But when it's Pharaoh's heart, I'm looking at him again. He hardened his heart there in 8:15, and Pharaoh hardened his heart in 32. Both of those are that waiting. I'm going to weight myself down. I'm going to make myself immovable, stubborn. All right. Yeah, he doesn't answer it. Well, and in their mindset, Pharaoh was a god. So good. Well, he's been raised that way. There's no reason for him to be. Yeah. He's very much stuck in a position of if I. But the thing is, Moses is not saying let us go forever and ever, amen. He's saying let us go for 3 days, which is an ironic point to it. Right. Yeah. Well, what, Moses and Aaron? Well, but Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron. Well, in the movie, it actually says that. Don't come see me anymore, right? So the movie is with you. So well, there's a whole lot of unwritten in what you just said. So yeah, we have Pharaoh's daughter kind of adopts him and names him, and then he's 40 years old. Yeah. Well, he was nursed by his own mother. And again, you go back to the age of weaning. How old was he? How conscious was he? Yeah. Again, we don't know. I would encourage you to go back and read Acts 7. Go back and read Acts 7 and just kind of see the first century understanding of what Moses was doing when Stephen kind of unpacks this, that Moses thought he was going to be the deliverer and the people rejected him. And it's like, wait, that's not in Exodus. So just go, you can kind of read, and again, you get a little commentary in there on what they thought at the time. So Acts 7, whatever, until he goes, you built the temple with your own hands. Wah, kill him. So that's exactly what they said. Wah, kill him. So, all right, any other good questions? Excellent work tonight. All right, we will come back with hopefully 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plagues next week. Good. All right, let me pray for us. Father, I thank you for each person you brought out here tonight and they braved the rain, the poor rainwater. I pray that you would just bless them for their time tonight that they've spent here learning your word, studying your word, contemplating your word. Father, I just pray that you would work in each of their hearts and each of their minds. Father, just tell them again how you got every single little fly out of Egypt. Father, may we understand and know you as that God, that's meticulous, sovereign, that does all these things to rescue us from our sins so that we could spend eternity with you. Father, may we understand and know that full well today. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.